Good morning, Enid. Thank you for joining us on this Thursday, November 8th. This is our Veterans Day show as we get ready for Veterans Day coming up on Sunday. Thank you for joining us. It's a cold, kind of rainy, damp, typical November day here in Oklahoma. We're around 41 degrees, and we may have reached today's high. I'm not sure, but anyway, we are so glad that you're with us. We're coming to you live on local cable channel 12 and also in high definition at 112. And we want to say good morning, Enid, to our viewers around the globe, because we're live streaming at enidtv.org, live streaming around the globe. So thank you for joining us. We're glad that you're with us for the next 30 minutes of news, weather, and sports. Grab a cup of coffee, something warm on this cold morning. This is Good Morning, Enid. It is time to rise and shine.
Good morning, Enid. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. As Steve mentioned a little earlier, it is pretty chilly out there. I think around 41 degrees currently. So let's take a look at that bus stop forecast to see what's in store for us later today. Looks like it's going to get to a high of 43, so you were right on. It's not going to get much warmer later on today.
Break out the hats, right? Yeah. Cover up the ears.
Yeah, definitely need a jacket today. And a low tonight of 29 degrees. It's raining. I think it's sprinkling right now, but later on today it is going to get into a steady light rain. So overall, I'm ready for the snow. I think it's going to be here pretty shortly.
Well, you're from the North Country, Aaron, so this is your kind of summer weather,
yeah.
not for us. Let's take a look at the radar. Aaron mentioned something about sprinkling. We came in the studio earlier today, and there was kind of raindrops on the windshield, but you can see the radar right there. So there's quite a bit of moisture in north central and even up into Kansas and over to eastern Oklahoma. So that's what the radar looks like, and I think that's all kind of moving towards the east. So I think really today is supposed to be one of those cloudy, cold, kind of a windy day out of the north. So keep that in mind. Let's take a look at the 3-day forecast. We're 2 weeks away, 2 weeks away from Thanksgiving. I'm sorry to share that news with you, but ready or not, get ready. 2 weeks, I'm sorry, clock is running. But for this weekend, as you get ready for the holidays, it's going to be in the 40s, typical November weather. Then you see the real cold one there at 22 on Friday. But that's the weather forecast. Looks at least the sun is going to return. Well, again, it's 7:32 on this Thursday. Thank you for joining us for our very special Veterans Day show. And we'd like to introduce an all too familiar face and person to you is Ward 6 Commissioner George Pankonin. Good morning, George.
Morning.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Thank you for being on our Veterans Day show.
Sure.
You just can't sit here and receive accolades. You're going to have to work. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
So we're going to put you to work here on this day in history, George. Let's take a look at that weather and let's see what it looked like on this day a few years ago.
Well, let's see. In 1980, this day in history, the high temperature was 89 degrees. The low temperature in history was set in 1991, and it was 18 degrees. So I guess I'm not feeling too bad about the weather this morning.
But that's typical Oklahoma, isn't it?
It is.
89 to 8, and every number in between. So,
right.
Well, anyway, thank you for joining us. We appreciate you being here.
Sure.
And we'll look forward to visiting with you throughout the next 30 minutes.
Okay.
Yep, now it's time for food, isn't it? Got to see what the kids are going to be having today for lunch. Looks like they're going to be having some chicken sandwiches, seasoned wedges, ranch beans, pickle slices, bananas, and milk. And tomorrow they're having Salisbury steak, scalloped potatoes, breaded green beans, hot roll, tropical fruit, and milk. I think I actually know what everything on the menu is this time.
I don't. Seasoned wedges.
It's like French fries, aren't they? Wedges?
Yeah, potato wedges.
Yeah, but what is seasoned about it?
Salt and pepper?
Yeah. Some kind of seasoning.
It just all goes to show that I can't even go back to grade school because I can't even figure out the menu. It's 7:34 again. Thank you for joining us for show number 194. And by the way, we're going to have show 200 coming up in just a few weeks. We have a very special event planned for show number 200 of Good Morning Enid. So completing 4 years of live television in Enid, Oklahoma. So we are celebrating that. Okay, it's time to find out what happened with the Thunder, news, weather, sports. We always turn to one guy, and that's the bow tie guy, Derek Silas. And at 7:35 on this Thursday, he has the Oklahoma Minute.
Tuesday, during the midterm elections, nationally, the Democrats have gained control of the House and the Republicans have the control of the Senate. Locally, Caldwell and Hayter won the local state races. Stitt defeats Edmondson in the Oklahoma governor race. Frank Lucas was re-elected as the U.S. representative, and the local incumbent judges have retained their seats. This Sunday, November 11th, Governor Fallin has asked that communities ring the bell for the 100th anniversary of the ending of World War I. And last night in sports, the Thunder played Cleveland with a win in Oklahoma City's favor, 95-86. Tomorrow they will go up against the Rockets at 7 p.m. in Oklahoma City. It will air on TNT. Saturday, Tulsa University will play University of Memphis at 11 a.m. and it will air on ESPN. And for all of you Cowboy and Sooner fans, get ready for Bedlam. Oklahoma State will play University of Oklahoma in Norman at 2:30 p.m. It will air on ABC. And on this day in history, in 1994, for the first time in 40 years, the Republican Party wins control of both the U.S. House of Representatives and the Senate in midterm elections. And that's the Oklahoma Minute.
Thank you, Derek, at 7:36. And again, thank you for joining us. As Aaron and I have both mentioned, it's going to be, we'll probably reach today's high. It's going to stay in the low 40s, but again, the wind out of the northeast, it's going to be kind of chilly today. Ward 6 Commissioner George Pankonin is our special guest. And real quick, George, did you kind of sort of know everything you were going to get into when you became a city commissioner? Any surprises, I guess, is my question.
I guess there's not surprises. I was very pleased to find out how engaged the public is. I hear from constituents all the time, and it doesn't matter if it's a stop sign that they want in their neighborhood or what's the status of a bridge, but I was really pleased with how engaged the community is with their local government.
And talk about engagement. Last Tuesday, we had all kinds of engagement.
I believe we did, yeah.
That's good. Well, if you have any fall festival pictures, grandkids with pumpkins, Christmas trees, you name it, we always give you an opportunity. Or maybe your grandmother is, or mom's having a birthday. We'll even throw in dad and grandfather as well. But you can send pictures to gme@enid.org. You see the email address there on your screen, gme@enid.org. Send those pictures and we'll put them on at this time. And just an opportunity to have you part of the show. Okay, we always, besides the news and the bow tie guy, we always turn to one person, and that's Miss Erin, and she always knows what's happening. So what's happening?
There is quite a bit, especially because it is a 3-day weekend for a lot of you out there, including ourselves. There is, kicking us off, there's the Enid High Drama Department is presenting Down to Earth on Thursday and Friday, so tonight and tomorrow night if you're looking for a play to go to. It is a comedy fantasy at the Enid High School starting at 7:30 p.m. It is $7 for adults and $4 for students, available at the door. So basically what it is about is there are 2 angels descend to pick up 2 elderly souls, and one lady who wants to keep her fortune and does not want to leave the earth, and another man who all he wants in his life is his cat and flowers. So it is apparently a very funny play. So if you're looking for any fun play to go see, or if you just don't have any plans on Thursday or Friday, definitely go check this out because Enid High will definitely appreciate it. And after that, if you watched our last week's show, we had Van's spouse is, what was her name again?
Erica DeGuire.
Yeah, Erica DeGuire. She was on last week, and she mentioned
DeGuire.
DeGuire,
I'm sorry. Sorry, Erica.
She was the Advanced Spouses president, I believe.
Advanced Spouse
And
Club.
she spoke about the holiday market, which is this Saturday at the Chisholm Trail Expo Center, and it starts at 9 a.m. and runs until 4 p.m. If you're looking for any type of Christmas gift, this is definitely your place to go. There will be crafters, vendors, and a bake sale. Admission is completely free, so if you want to just go look at all the different baked goods or Christmas gifts, this is definitely a place to go. All the proceeds are going to be benefiting the Advanced Spouses Club and charitable donations for food. And there will be door prizes and definitely a great event, especially to support the Advanced Spouses Club.
Erica DeGeer.
Yes, Erica DeGeer.
She was a great guest with this last year.
Yes, she was.
the
Very
Advanced Spouses Club.
informative.
Okay, Aaron, well done. Thank you very much. It's 7:40. Commissioner, you served in the Air Force.
I did.
Correct? And you mentioned before we went on the air this morning, you wanted to say kind of hello to some other commissioners and other individuals and that have served as well.
I did. I have the opportunity to talk with you about Veterans Day today, but I'd like to recognize the achievements of my fellow commissioners and others in the city, particularly from Ward 1, Ron Jansen, who served in the National Guard. Also, Jonathan Waddell, who retired from the Air Force. In fact, Jonathan Waddell and I work in the same building. I volunteer in a building, but we work in the same building out at Vance Air Force Base today.
Okay.
So, and the other one is our city manager, Gerald Gilbert, is a colonel in the National Guard and commander of Camp Gruber. So, to my fellow veterans, thank you for your service as well.
Yep. And happy Veterans Day. It's 7:41, and we have a little video that we want to show you in regard to honoring our veterans, and then we'll be back with Ward 6 Commissioner George Pankonin right after this. That was nice.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, very nice.
Yep. Thank you, everyone, for joining us again, and thank you, Commissioner, for joining us as well.
Sure.
A little bit before the show, you were telling us a little bit about your Air Force career. Could you tell everyone a little bit about your time in the service?
Okay, sure. Actually, I joined the Air Force in 1970. Really didn't plan, I don't have a family history of being in the military, but back then they had a thing called the lottery, the draft. And I usually say tongue-in-cheek that that's the only lottery that I ever won, because in fact it was. I had no plans to go to college or anything like that, but I joined the military, joined the Air Force because I didn't really want to do the Army. And by the time I left the Air Force 23 years later, I had an associate's degree, a bachelor's degree, a master's degree. I never left active duty. The military paid for the education, paid me to go to school. It couldn't have been better. So I was put on a career path that I never would have taken otherwise. So I call it for those of us that remember Forrest Gump, I call my career plan the Forrest Gump career plan. I kept stumbling through the correct doors. But, so that's how I started my military career.
Well, Commissioner, from boot camp and just really throughout your career, could you summarize your primary job?
Yeah, it was always supply. I was supposed to be security forces, a policeman.
Okay.
Well, I wasn't very big when I was younger. I was about 110 pounds probably. So I thought, don't they have bigger guys for cops? But
and they needed somebody at 120.
Right, right. But as it turned out, they had enough cops during that particular phase of training. So I went into supply and started working in warehouse, driving forklifts, unloading trucks and trains and stuff like that. Okay. And then the last job I had in the Air Force, I was a commander for a supply squadron. So I had risen to the commander's position. From the lowest guy on the deck to the guy in charge. So I thought that was pretty good.
Very good.
That's really impressive.
Yep.
And you mentioned that you didn't want to join the Army. So what was it that caused you to pick the Air Force?
Actually, my uncle was in the Air Force, but before the Air Force, he was in the Navy. Before the Navy, he was in the Army. And in the Army, he started losing his hearing. Decided to get out after one hitch in the Army. Was out for about a year and decided, you know what, I kind of like the military, but I don't want to jump out of any more good airplanes. So he went in the Navy, just in time to be on the USS Essex, and he didn't know why, but they were circling in the Caribbean. Later on, he found out it was the Cuban Missile Crisis, and they were supposed to go in. So after doing the Navy for 4 years, he decided, you know what, I don't like swabbing decks anymore, and I like jumping out of perfectly good airplanes. So he went in the Air Force. So I said, which one do you think? He said, go in the Air Force. So
That's the long answer. The summary is join the Air Force.
that's right.
Well, Commissioner, you've already touched on this with your academic background, with the military paying for that. Let's talk a little bit about the service, the experiences, that whole package, if you will. How has it really impacted your life today when you reflect back?
Oh, tremendously. Not only, certainly it gave me the education opportunities that I talked about earlier. Beyond that, I obtained a culture of service that I might not otherwise have had. I was not a volunteer, before. I didn't go to a lot of the things in high school, volunteered for committees or anything like that. But one of the things that I learned during my time in the service was how important service is. And service doesn't mean just military service, it means community service. So I think that's where I got infected with the service bug, and it stays with me to this day.
So as you said, it stays with you to this day. Are you connected in any way to the Vance Air Force Base here in Enid?
I am. I am the director for the Retiree Activities Office on base, so we have a group of retirees that help other retirees do things. Early on, you used to go to finance if you wanted to change allotments or anything like that. Well, now the Air Force is like everything else. You do everything online. If you're 80 years old, you probably can't go online, and you certainly can't remember the 16-digit nonsensical password. So we help those people out with the different services that they need. So I do that. I'm part of the AETC Commander Civic Leaders Group, so I join General Quast 4 times a year, twice by video teleconference and twice in person, so that we can find out, be read in on what's going on, and they value the opinions of the community leaders. So I stay pretty active there too.
Good morning, Enid. It's 7:47 on this Thursday, November 8th. The days in November are moving along, and just in case you're not aware, we already announced 2 weeks away from Thanksgiving, so get ready for that. As you're preparing for the weather, it's going to be in the low 40s, kind of rainy, kind of cold, cloudy today, so keep that in mind. We're going to have a wind out of the north today, so that's to help you as you get ready for school and work today. Well, this is our Veterans Day show, and we want to say thank you to all the men and women that have served and are currently serving, that have served. And I also want to say hi to my good friend George Bellman, my World War II hero. George, along with my dad served in the Navy in World War II. And George, we appreciate you and everybody else here in the Enid community and World War II that have given so much. Commissioner, why is Veterans Day? This may sound like a third grade elementary kind of question, but why is Veterans Day so important that we in this country hang on to that, celebrate it?
Well, I think it's to recognize, it sets aside a day to recognize those that have stepped up and said, I'm not going to be rich by joining the military. I'm not going to maybe get any accolades for joining the military, but it's time for me to serve my country as well. And I think it recognizes those silent heroes, many times silent heroes.
Sure.
Speaking of Veterans Day, has anyone done anything special or that stood out to you for Veterans Day?
Personally, I don't know. I can't think of anything offhand, but I know the Enid community is great when it comes to veterans. I can't tell you how many times I've been to We Too restaurant and seen people in military uniform, and they'd go up to the counter to pay their check to find out that somebody had already paid it. Happens all the time in this city, and not just at We Too, it happens all the time. Yeah. Very, very thoughtful gestures. Yep.
We'll have more with Commissioner George Pankonin, Ward 6 Commissioner. Also happens, here's a little subliminal comment here, threw your name in the hat for running the mayor, right?
I did, yeah.
Okay, so Well, we'll only say that 1.5 times that he's considering, or he is going to be running for mayor of the city of Enid. We'll have more with George in just a few moments. And again, I don't know if you just reminded me, George, of the 11th day, the 11th hour, and the 11th month. I think Derek touched on this earlier. I think it's so important that our state is recognizing 100 years, the war to end all wars,
Right.
World War I. And it's great to see that our leadership in our state wants to recognize veterans, but to recognize that day, November 11, at the 11th hour, and ring a bell. So
That's right.
We'll have more with the commissioner right after this. I think our next stop is more news.
Yes, more news. If you missed it earlier today, we have one guy that we turn to, and that is Derek Silas, the bow tie guy.
Thanks, Aaron. Tuesday, during the midterm elections, nationally, the Democrats have gained control of the House and the Republicans maintain control of the Senate. Stitt defeats Edmondson in the Oklahoma governor's race. Caldwell and Hayter won the local state house races. Frank Lucas was reelected as the U.S. representative, and the local incumbent judges have retained their seats. As mentioned, Governor Fallin is asking communities to ring the bell on November 1st, Sunday, 11th, for the 100th anniversary of the ending of World War I. And last night, the Thunder played Cleveland with a win in Oklahoma City's favor, 95-86. Tomorrow, they will go up against the Rockets at 7 p.m. in Oklahoma City, and it will air on TNT. Saturday sports, Tulsa University will play University of Memphis at 11 a.m., and it will air on ESPN. And for all you Cowboy and Sooner fans, get ready for Bedlam. Oklahoma State will be at the University of Oklahoma at 2:30 p.m., and it will air on ABC. On this day of history, in 1994, for the first time in 40 years, the Republican Party wins both the House of Representatives and the Senate in the midterm elections. And that's the Oklahoma Minute.
And within that Oklahoma Minute, Derek reminded us about all the collegiate football. We want to take this time at 7:51 to remind you about Friday Night Lights. Let's see what my Perry Maroons are doing. They're in the playoffs, and Kellyville comes to town to play my old high school, the Perry Maroons. But you can see these are all playoff games, and encourage you to get out and support. It's going to be cold on Friday, but that's what high school football is all about. And you see Covington Douglas is at Paoli. So a lot of great playoff games. Wacomas at Laverne. So get out and support your team, if you will. That's Friday Night Lights.
Yeah, we should probably take a look at that weather to see what it's going to be like on Friday night.
How many coats you need for the football game Friday?
Probably quite a few, I'm assuming.
There you go.
Yeah, 46 degrees. At least it'll be sunny, so that's not too bad. 22 below, that's pretty chilly though. But overall, in the high 40s for the highs, and mostly sunny except on Sunday, which looks like it's going to rain and be a little bit cloudy. So overall, it is definitely November now, you can tell. And for all of you who have been watching, Veterans Day is on Sunday, which means the city office will be closed on Monday. So keep a lookout for that.
Golf course will be open on Monday. Landfill will be open on Monday, but everything else is closed, I think. So if you're able to be with us here at 8 o'clock this morning, I had the opportunity to sit down and visit with the executive director of For Our Kids, Tricia Mitchell. And they're involved in a huge annual fundraising campaign during the month of November. And there we go. And sat down with Tricia at the round table is our segment. And we talked about the fundraising effort to support For Our Kids. So that interview is coming up at 8 o'clock this morning. We'll have another question for the commissioner in just a few moments, but why don't we go ahead and do your favorite segment, Aaron?
My favorite segment, and Charlotte has a cute little kitty named Figaro. So
Kitty, 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 kitty.
take it away, Charlotte.
Today we have Figaro. Figaro is in pen 6. He is a 4-month-old male, medium hair domestic cat, and he is looking for a family. He has a little friend with him, and they're both looking for a brand new home. So come by and meet Figaro.
We had a cat like that. His name was Norman. He lived 15 years with us. He's no longer with us. He is in spirit and in memories, but he was black as black. He was a great cat.
That is a very cute kitty.
Yeah.
I have one more.
Figaro.
Yeah, Figaro. I've never heard that name before. She always comes up with really great names.
And remind everybody there's options to rename.
Yes, you don't have to keep the names if you don't want to keep them.
Yeah.
But she does come up with very creative names. So I have another question for you. For all those people who want to celebrate Veterans Day but don't really know how to, what are some suggestions you have for them?
Actually, I think as a veteran, the thing that I appreciate most is somebody just saying thank you. I mean, it doesn't take that much. If you know somebody that's veteran, it doesn't take a big gift. All it takes is a thanks for your service. And I think we appreciate that more than anything.
And speaking of thanking individuals for the service, there's a Legacy Awards event coming up, I believe it's next Thursday. And thank you, Penn. There's the information that you see on the screen. It will be at the Central National Bank Center. I think everybody's getting familiar with our hero from Vietnam War, Bob Ford. He flew over 1,000 missions as a helicopter pilot, and they're going to be recognizing area churches for 125 years of their birthdays, if you will, of their impact on the community. But they also are going to spend time to recognize, I think there's 8 specific veterans that they're going to be recognizing at this Legacy Award dinner that's coming up next Thursday. And again, it's all part of Veterans Day. Commissioner, I was with George Bellman, my good friend George, having breakfast one day, and I didn't serve. My lottery number was a high number, so that's another story. But anyway, so I was with George at breakfast, and I remember some people coming by, grabbed the check, and went to pay for it. And here, I was trying to honor George as much as possible, but I got a sense of appreciation when people do just take time to say thank you.
You're right.
And I'm sure you have an instance where you were at a meal or something like that and somebody came by. What does that speak to you when somebody just does that act of kindness?
It just shows respect and appreciation on their behalf. Not everybody does serve. Not everybody can even have a chance to serve. Some people want to serve, but because of a medical situation or something, they can't. So I don't slight anybody that has not had a chance to serve, but I appreciate the fact that those that didn't appreciate those that did.
Commissioner, we've got 1 minute or less. Let's talk a little bit about the city council meeting.
Okay.
We have it every 2 weeks on Tuesday. We have a city council meeting. And I remember visiting with one of the former commissioners, and they said, Steve, I had no idea how much I had to read in preparation for the meeting. So tell us a little bit about that real quick.
That was true. My first commission meeting, we all have an iPad that we use, and they do that to save trees. And I didn't know what that meant until the first meeting. And I looked through the read-ahead notes for all the activity that was going to happen for that first council meeting. It was 200 pages. So it takes quite a while to read through and digest and understand what's happening in those 200 pages. So the meeting is not just, a half an hour or an hour every 2 weeks a month. There's a lot of preparation that goes before that meeting.
Well, we certainly encourage people to serve, but it may not be as glamorous as you think.
No.
And there's a lot of pre-work behind the scenes.
Yeah, just like school, there's always a little homework.
Yeah. George Pankonin, Ward 6 Commissioner, thank you again for your service, and thank you for being our special guest here on Good Morning Enid. And we appreciate you making this a great show, and we want to say thanks to all of our veterans as well. So.
All right.
Yes, thank you so much. And I forgot to mention there is a Veterans Day parade also this Saturday at 10 a.m. So if you're looking for something to do for Veterans Day, that is also an option. It's hosted by the Blue Star Mothers and Vietnam Veterans Post.
And that gets underway at 10 o'clock
Saturday.
Again, happy Veterans Day, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Good morning, Enid. Make it a great day. Grab gloves.
Yeah, grab gloves, coat, everything you can think of.
Everything you think
chilly.
of. All right. Make it a great day.